Welcome to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, where there's always another secret.
Welcome back, Sixers, to another episode of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies. This is episode 184, March 24th, 2025. And this is a big one, folks. I am Bill, and I am joined, as always, by my absolutely amazing co-hosts, Amy and Jordan.
Aww.
Welcome, guys. Before we get started, we want to remind the listeners that the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is not a spoiler-free podcast. That means that if there is something in the Cosmere that you haven't read and you're worried about hearing spoilers, you might want to go read those first, then come back and listen to the episode, get all caught up, and just, join in the discussion with your comments, with your emails, letting us know what's going on. Because tonight, we are finishing up our deep dive into Wind and Truth before we take an extended hiatus. To wrap things up, we are going to be talking about Adolin and his storyline. Lots of stuff going on here.
Yep.
For those of you who listen to the podcast recordings or watch the videos on YouTube, we have been very, very fortunate to have some incredible people joining us in chat over the past 7 years. Y'all have made it so much fun. You have thrown wrenches into our discussions in all of the best ways and led us to some of our more enjoyable discussions, in my opinion. So, thank you so much. And just keep checking us out at youtube.com/cosmerestudies.
There will be more episodes in the future.
There will be more episodes in the future. They just won't be coming at a regular tick. Yeah. It's not going to be every 2 weeks on the dot. We've been doing it for 7 years. And one of y'all said that we've missed like once. I don't know that we did.
There was 1 week we had to miss because you were going to be out of town and Amy was going to be out of town. And it was staggered and it was just going to be impossible. And so it's like, okay, we'll delay 1 week for the first time. I think it was somewhere in year 5.
But I think we delayed 1 week and then did another one the week after, didn't we?
Yeah, we made up for it, but
okay, so
but it was generally every
that's okay. But yeah, I feel I'm pleased with that. I'm very pleased with that.
It's crazy,
I'm very pleased with it as well. No, we've if I don't mind saying so, I think we've done a pretty dang good job.
Yeah,
I am content. So in celebration, though, purely out of celebration for this and no other reasons, I did a seafood boil yesterday.
Oh, was that why?
Yeah, because Roshar. It was totally a Roshar celebration.
I really should have seen that coming.
So no, I twice a year I'll do a big seafood boil for my nephews and nieces, and so. But it was a very small turnout this time.
It was the biggest king crab I've ever seen.
Oh, king crab is amazing. It's pricey, but gosh, it's delicious.
When you only do it twice per year, you can afford to.
Exactly. That's why you only do it twice a year.
Yeah. An excellent point.
Yeah, I had king crab and snow crab and clams and mussels and shrimp and sausage and boiled eggs and potatoes. And those potatoes are so good. And corn, Jordan's favorite.
Yes. Definitely not the crab meat and the shrimp.
Jordan wants all of the corn.
No.
So anything else going on in y'all's lives?
I turned my desk and got a new desk. So
yeah,
if
Amy
you're watching
looks all
it,
weird.
I have a wall behind me instead of a wall way behind me. I turned 90 degrees, so I have a wall behind me. So yay.
And she's made a new magic system out of it.
No.
Oh, we've been reading Brandon too long.
But I am printing the second to last piece of my Mando armor, the chest piece right now, and then I
Very
just have the
nice.
back. As long as my helmet fits okay, because if the helmet
that's
is too
very
big, then
cool.
I have to reprint it. But yeah, so fingers crossed, I will have it done definitely by FanX, but in September, but maybe by May, so I could do May the 4th stuff in it. But we'll see.
Well, cool.
You'll get it done.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies has been made possible by the support of our listeners and patrons. Again, y'all are amazing. Thank you so much. The Patreon will be shutting down as we're not going to be having the regular cadence of episodes, and Patreon now requires you to have a specific monthly rather than per item
Creation,
released.
yeah.
And so, we're going to be pulling that down just so we're not charging people for not putting out content.
Mm-hmm.
But thank y'all so much. Y'all are seriously amazing. The Discord is still up. So for our patrons, that is still available, and we're not going to be shutting that down anytime soon because y'all are an amazing group of people and we want to keep that going.
Yeah.
Like Jordan mentioned, we're not going away entirely. We're probably going to be putting out episodes essentially when we get a really good idea for an episode, but mostly just when Brandon comes out with a new book or if one of us is really struck by inspiration. Or we just miss each other. Jordan's so far away in the basement. So
It is.
I know.
It's look.
So far away.
Sometimes I don't see you for days.
That's true.
Yes.
Not often. But okay. Well, meanwhile, Jordan, do you have an announcement?
I do. So I actually finished this like 2 episodes ago, but once we decided that we were doing this, I was just like, you know what? Let's just save it for the last one. The Wind and Truth title belt.
Da-da-da.
Yes. So this was, if you missed it, this was everyone made their predictions for what was going to happen in Wind and Truth. We had a couple of just 10 questions out there because, it's
10
Stormlight
letters.
Archive has made sense.
Mm-hmm.
But this was by far the closest we've ever had in scores, partially because no one was even remotely close on a lot of their predictions. And in particular, the the 6th question, which was how many times will storm be used as a swear word? There's been a lot of cleanup of people's potty mouths in this book.
Oh, really?
They use storm a lot less, which is really impressive given that there are 2 sections in particular where Shalon goes storms, 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 and Lift says storming, storms, storming, storms.
Make it up
And
for
so-
last time.
No,
Also, given that, we're dealing with the end of the world and such.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think people were treating it with a little more solemnity. Also, this one was a lot harder to count because there was a lot more discussions about actual storms in this book than any of the others.
You had to keep.
Fair
So
enough.
I had to
Nope,
do
not that one. Not
I had to
that
do
one.
a lot more filtering than normal. For the record, there were 1,148 uses of storm as a swear word, and storm, storming, or storms. Yeah, everyone was way over that. The lowest guess was in the 13 or the 1200s.
I mean, that's still around once every page and a half or so.
Yeah,
On
well,
average.
normally it's about once every 0.9 pages. So they definitely cleaned up their act. Look, there's kids now. They have
There's
to.
kids around. You got to be careful.
Dalinar's enforcing the codes.
Well, and Gavinor was around Dalinar a lot, so he had
Watch his mouth. Yep.
yeah. But this is by far the closest we've ever gotten. Just some minor notes of intrigue. Everyone got the first question right, which was, will Thadakar make an appearance in the book? And
I mean,
there was one.
to be fair, that happened in the
Preview chapters.
pre-release, the preview. So,
Yeah,
like in the
but-
prologue.
But I said the stuff from the prologue didn't count.
Okay.
But the other one that was interesting that no one got right because it just didn't happen was predict a world hopper that would show up that hadn't showed up before. And
I don't
there
even
really
remember who
wasn't.
I guessed.
Yeah. Basically,
I mean,
no one.
Well, I mean, like you could have said one of the Iriali.
That wouldn't have worked because I specifically said if it's something that's been in a preview chapter, it doesn't count.
Okay.
Just because I didn't want to have to police
Right.
whether
Who's
or
read
not
them and who
someone read
hasn't,
the
yeah.
preview chapters.
Fair enough.
Honestly, the only answer that I could have taken probably was Ulam at the very end of the book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't show up on Roshar. It was Hoyd going to him.
Yeah.
But he did show up in the book.
Yeah.
And we have seen him before. Well,
We saw him at
Yeah.
Tress.
yeah, so we've seen him world hop before.
Yeah, but it was in this book.
On Rashard, got it.
Yeah.
Mm,
Anyway, I might have taken that. But yeah, so the top let's see, what would this be? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the top 4. But I'm gonna say 6 names, so that lets you know how tight it was. So
because there were ties, you mean?
Yeah, there were ties.
Got it.
In 4th place was Q10 Fanatic at 34 points. In 3rd place was Zaray at 35 points. Tied for 2nd place, 3 people with 37 points.
Wow.
Apparently a Truth Watcher, Invita, and C. Crow. And at 38 points, so this was a 1-point winner, Solana. So Solana, I am going to be messaging you about your prize, which they are getting the socks, the shirt, and
Pajama pants.
the PJ pants of their
Chosen
you
order.
actually that was
was that part of the
that was on it. Edge Dancers.
Ooh,
Okay.
good choice.
But I'll reach out to make sure you still want that because style matters.
Yeah. Jordan's repping another order, so
Yeah, I am. Look, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. The Dustbringers just have the coolest looking crap. Okay.
I mean, I dressed up as one too, and I'm not one, so it's okay.
Yeah. For the record, I really liked Solana's big prediction, just because this wasn't the most accurate, but it got more points than it normally would have just for something in it. They said, since Zeth swore an oath to follow Dalinar, when Dalinar doesn't win the Contest of Champions, Odium will force Dalinar to command Zeth to fulfill Odium's evil plans. It's like, that's nowhere close. But then, however, in accordance with Zeth's arc, he will realize that oaths can be flawed and swear a new ideal. Which is like, in the end, he kind of does do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, didn't get a lot of points for it, but it was like,
still something. That's good.
Yeah. It got the soul of his arc.
Yeah.
The one that I didn't expect was we'll see Ox's origin story.
Yeah, that one.
I know that was like what. So, out of curiosity, do you have what I scored on it? I'm just curious, like what Bill and I scored.
I don't think you actually hit the submit button because you weren't on here.
Well, I did it verbally.
We did it live.
Yeah, but I
probably didn't
write
do very
it down.
Well. That's okay.
No, C. Crow actually got the most accurate of all the predictions.
Which was?
So this C. Crow was not doing very well until the very last question, which was Odium will win. Roshar will become a launching point for conquest for the rest of the Cosmere. Teravangium will take up the Shard of Honor in addition to Odium. The Knights Radiant will become an underground organization working to overthrow Honor Odium regime, which it's like, okay, that last one, that's to be determined if that's how it's going to be. But then the final, just throw in, and Shallan is pregnant.
Well,
I mean, it is.
Dang.
As much as I hate to say it, it is a trope that happens.
Yeah,
a lot.
Well, and it's especially good cliffhanger trope to grab
with the time skip and then woo baby. So
like sometimes when you call your shot, and you will hit it, and it just looks amazing.
No, this I haven't looked, but I'm fairly certain this is the most points I have ever awarded on a final question, because it's just like
Nice.
it's a lot of predictions,
Yeah.
and they're almost all right, and even the one that isn't quote unquote right is undetermined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be. We don't know yet.
Anyway. Yeah, it was close. Anyway,
Okay.
but yeah. So Solana, I will be reaching out to you via email. So respond when I do.
Please.
It's not spam, we promise.
All right. Well, with that over, let's move on to our Cosmere Thing of the Week. And Jordan, you've got the Cosmere,
Yes.
the Katatwa.
Yes, the much easier to say Katatwa. This is a Lego Chasm Fiend that was made by Mathemagician 123. I think it was the name. No, 23. That's what it was. Mathemagician 23 posted on the Cosmere subreddit. This isn't just a Lego Chasm Fiend. They are making a how to make it guide so that anyone with the correct parts could duplicate their work.
Could make a Lego Chasm Fiend.
Yeah, and you can go on Lego and just buy like single pieces that you need of things too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Or
this,
just go to
I mean,
stores.
it might be a little difficult to see just in the corner of the screen, but the detail on this is insane. They've used a lot of one bump, I don't know what to call it, one bump pieces to add just details here and there that like are the equivalent of scales and such.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is so good looking.
Yeah, I showed my kids and my daughter was like, I want it.
Pips? Really? They're okay. I mean, that makes sense.
I think in the Lego video games they call them pips. Maybe that was just me that I called them that. But...
I know when like the books are called 1x1s, I think is what they call them. But
okay, maybe I just called it that in my head. I don't know.
I'm gonna ask Rock.
But yeah, the dots.
What are they called?
Well, you say 1x1s, but there's like the round 1x1s, and then there's like the square 1x1s.
So you mean like the little circle ones,
the
or
little
like
circle
the
ones, or the circle ones
goodness.
are the bumps.
I don't know what those are called then.
What are the bumps on Legos called? The bumps on Lego bricks are commonly referred to as studs. These small cylindrical protrusions on the top of Lego pieces allow them to interlock. Blah blah. Yeah, I know how Legos work.
I've used a few, just a few.
I don't know. I felt weird if I said they used a lot of studs to add detail. It just sounds weird. Yeah, exactly.
Amy, chill.
So last episode, she's turning
burning
the
it down.
camera around. She's gone rogue.
Yes. No, it's fine. I like playing rogue.
She's gone mad with power.
She's gonna eat the chort.
Yep.
All right. But yeah,
well, cool.
That's the so if you want to check it out, it's right now, at least at the time of recording, on the Cosmere subreddit, and it's cool. You should check it out.
Yeah,
cool.
It's really pretty.
All right, well, let's move on into Sanderson news. First of all, Brandon got the plague in Hawaii, and he burst his eardrum. So that's not a fun thing. So he was taking some time to kind of recover afterwards. Like even a month ago, or like not a month, like a month after he got back or so, he was still kind of getting, or maybe it was 2 weeks. 2 weeks after he got back, he was sort of trying to recover. So here's hoping he's feeling a lot better now.
And it's funny because like his word count was still higher than a lot of people's during a week when he was sick.
I think he got like 2,000.
Well, he's got to distract himself somehow.
Yeah, but it was just kind of funny to see that. People were like, that's how much? That's more than I do.
Because the pre-writing for Ghostbloods is 100% done. So, and that was the pre-writing for all three, which of course after each book he's kind of going to go back and revise and fix and polish and stuff. But then the writing on Ghostbloods book 1 is at 1% as of 2 weeks ago. He said he's budgeting at about 200,000 words, which would put that as 2,000 words is about 1%, and he's hoping to get about 4% per week if he sticks to trends and stuff.
What is that compared to the original Mistborn books?
About the same.
Okay,
so it's closer to Era 1 than it is to Era 2.
Gotcha.
Because is Era 2 a little bit shorter or is it a little bit longer?
Era 2 is a little shorter.
Okay.
Which they don't feel that much shorter.
If you look at Alloy of Law is particularly short.
Yeah, I was like, I know Alloy was a lot smaller, but I didn't remember about the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
My
it's just one of
son's
those
reading,
things. Like I was shocked when I saw how big the difference actually was.
Oh,
just
yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
It didn't feel that much shorter to me reading it.
If you look at them next to each other, it's pretty clear. Songrise, which is Jancy's second follow-up to Skyward, so book 2 of that follow-up, is at 13%. Now, Dragonsteel, the team, without Brandon, is going to be at C2E2 in Chicago. That is going to be from Friday, April 11th through Sunday, April 13th. I don't know if Brandon's team is going to be there that Sunday. I know they sometimes do, sometimes who knows what's going on. But they're going to be at booth number 519. They'll have a quest/con game, and Brandon said he's leaving it to the team so you'll want to go to the booth there to find out exactly how that works.
I wonder how that works when it's not their con.
I don't know.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it's probably a scavenger hunt thing.
Yeah, it's like go and how many is this
or take a picture with this kind of cosplayer or
exactly
whatever else,
I also just wouldn't put it past the Sanderson team to accidentally take over an entire con by roping in everyone else's booths into the game.
Yeah, like I went to a board game cruise earlier this year, and they had a photo scavenger hunt where there's it was basically not even a photo scavenger hunt. It was just a trivia scavenger hunt. It's like, how long is the ship? And there's a place on the ship that displays it. What's the license plate of the interestingly displayed Volkswagen Beetle on this deck? And you go, and it's like been reformed into a sphere, but you can see the license plate.
The license plate still.
Yep.
Okay. Having been booth next to their booth, like at the Star Wars Club at FanX this last year, was next to the Dragonsteel booth, and we were like, they're really nice neighbors.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really nice to just have them there, especially compared to the really loud wrestlers. So big change.
Yes, the really loud wrestlers.
Yeah, they were
I know what you're talking about. I'm going to pretend that everything's fine.
It's fine.
So speaking of Dragonsteel and conventions, though, Dragonsteel is hiring their squires for Dragonsteel Nexus 2025. If you're listening to this after the fact, it's too late. If you're listening to us live right now, applications close today.
Oh, they today.
So, so the night we record. Also, they are hiring a graphic designer. So if you want to work full time for Team Dragonsteel, and you work in graphic design, there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
So I've got the link to that in our show notes document. There's a link to the show notes document in the description on YouTube or all that stuff. So, but yeah, and that's it for Sanderson news.
Okay.
All right.
For the next good while.
Yeah.
If you want to keep up on it yourself, make sure to go to youtube.com/brand Sanderson, not Brandon, brand Sanderson.
See, it's clever.
Haha.
And it will, and every week they put it up on Mondays, or no, Tuesdays.
Yeah, because it's
used to be Mondays. Now it's Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're 2 weeks behind instead of on the day.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's move on to our main discussion. Would anyone like to begin? Any immediate thoughts?
This poor man. Oh my goodness.
He goes through some stuff.
He gets maimed. He gets so much battle weariness and PTSD and
the man is
so
broken.
much.
I think it's just TSD because he's in the middle of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Traumatic stress. Yeah, that would work. But
CTSD,
it's always
concurrent trauma.
No, with that one, it's chronic is what it is. Is CPTSD is chronic post-traumatic.
I think they just call it battle fatigue in the middle of a war.
Yeah.
But and it's one of those situations. The thing is, I just remember because we went through the preview chapters, and I just remember the moment that he and Dalinar don't try to settle things before he heads off. You're just like, well, one of them's dead. Like that's just that's the kiss of death.
You don't want to say like, oh, it's a trope, so obviously it's going to happen, but it kind of, you're just sitting there going, oh, I did worry that it wasn't going to get resolved, and it didn't. And now he's going to have the Blackthorn running around, which is not going to be okay.
Now the next time he sees his dad is going to be Evil Daddy.
But I think he'll recognize that it's not Dad.
Yeah. Well, that's so obviously this is jumping way ahead, but there's the moment where he's been like fighting and fighting and fighting on the front lines, and like there's no more relief because it's just like they're literally down to their last, like it's the last man, women, and child that are fighting, and he's like about to get like run through with the spear, and he's just, part of him is like, yeah, just let it happen. Like she's just, and then like in that moment he finally realizes, no, I want to like make things up with my dad. I want to, and like, and it sort of gives him the extra, the boost. And it's good to like, for me at least as a viewer, it was like, it was good to see him mentally be like, I do want to fix things. I think at the end of this book, the person that's going to be the most interesting going forward will be him and Gavinor.
Oh, because they're going to have very different views on Dalinar and everything.
But they actually both have very similar views on Dalinar as well. Because
jaded and
because
they idolized him, and then that image was shattered.
Yeah, I just
and both killed. He from their perspective, he killed their parents. For both of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Gavinor is going to be a lot more messed up than Adolin is, though.
I mean, he was forged into a weapon by
from age 5
by hatred himself.
Yeah, so he's going to have some issues.
Oh gosh, that's going to take like 1,000 mommy kisses to make better.
Except his mommy was terrible.
Yeah. Well, we do have a new Herald of Therapy, so.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, man. Just not as intimidating as like the Herald of Kings.
Yeah. I think I've also heard, is it actually like the Herald of Second Chances? Is that really his title, or is that just what everybody calls it?
I mean, it depends upon religious undertones, and most people don't even know he's there, so.
Right.
I just couldn't remember if it was like literally written out in the text in the book, or if people just
I honestly don't recall.
Okay. I couldn't remember.
The early part with him and Dalinar was just like, as the person, it's just the whole thing of, I've watched too many films, don't do this. It's the whole, don't go into the house.
The other thing that's interesting is, yes, he's absolutely broken, and it's one of those things like, I hope, like, but this is something that could be run with. Gavinor is now of age to take the throne.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But would it be? But then you have Yasna.
But what throne?
Of what country exactly?
Yeah, like there's but Alethkar is not. It's gone.
Alethkar is gone, but.
And that's the of what?
Because Yurthru is Navani.
Yurthru is its own.
Yeah,
domain.
That was Navani and Dalinar.
Mm-hmm.
But
and they took great pains to make sure it was separate.
And the Shattered Plains, which was kind of Alethkar in exile, is now given to the
singers,
the listeners.
Listeners, I can never keep it right with that. Yeah.
First you listen, then you sing.
It's hard. Anyway.
I feel like that should be a t-shirt that you get at like Allstate Choir or something.
But it's just one of those things at the start, because it's just, he's setting things up. And look, Brandon's also, like, that's the other thing that I like about Brandon's writing. It's like, it's kind of a trope, so I don't want to say it because it's trope. Brandon's also not afraid of tropes. He understands the whole idea of tropes aren't bad.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't
Like, there's-
avoid tropes; he plays with them.
Yeah. And I think we're not to the playing with it part of Adolin's angst with Dalinar.
Interesting.
And so he has stuff to overcome. I mean, he's
He's
literally got a kid along the way, so he's going to be thinking about his father a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
we've kind of jumped to the end.
yeah.
So we should probably step back a little bit. So
Well, because at the beginning he was it was him making friends with Yanagon and with
Mhm.
Kolot, because Kolot was going through his kind of mopey stage because he tried to become a wind runner,
right.
and none of the spren
Oh,
would
that's
take
right.
him, and he kind of felt like it was because he was a Light Eyes. He's like, I
So-
don't blame them. At the same time, it's like,
It
At
still
the same time,
hurts.
I didn't do anything.
yeah,
So-
I thought I was pretty good.
It's like I was doing the right stuff. I was trying to be a good guy, and nope, didn't get picked.
Yeah, and then someone else who joins him like the last second was a random Thalen dude who can't even talk. Like, can't
I'm
speak
trying to remember.
Alethi. Hamask.
Oh, I vaguely remember that. Yeah,
And he
and
was
I feel
always
like there's the girl who's wanting to be a soldier, but she's not
Zabra.
physically. Yeah,
Right,
she's not
and-
physically
and,
strong enough yet. But
And so Adolin puts her with the archers.
archers, yeah.
I
like,
forget
"No,
the
you guys-"
name of who was the High Lady.
The
Or-
his
or-
ex,
Yeah,
Adolin's
well,
ex?
that doesn't narrow it down. So
There's
his
too many
ex
of
who
those.
was leading the archers.
yeah, I'm trying. I
Is
don't
it
remember
May
her
Alad?
name.
It's not May Aladar, is it?
It might be May.
I think it was May.
Maybe it's her.
No. No, I'm not even giving you a fake laugh for that one.
Yeah, she gave me the fake laugh. It's all the confirmation I need that joke was a 10. Anyway, no, the
Oh yeah, they did date.
Yeah, I knew they dated. I just was
Adolin
it May?
offended her at the Shattered Plains when she thought they were dating, even though Adolin thought they were not.
Sorry about that, folks. It wouldn't be a 6 episode if we didn't have some sort of technical difficulties for our last one for a while. So,
indeed.
The gremlins are loose.
all right. So, Jordan, you were saying
I forgot. Like, I started thinking about how he kept fighting the Monarch. I forget what his name was. The fuse that called himself the Monarch.
right?
Oh, Abidi.
Abadai.
Yeah, Abadai. The audiobook says Abadai.
Okay, I just read it. I don't read. I don't listen. So
Yeah, Abidi. If he was a Lantrian.
He's blue.
Abadai. This is good.
Sorry,
But I forgot about their battle with him underneath the Sea of Beads,
oh yeah,
and the fact that
The first
Shallan distracted him with the fact that her light forms are starting to actually
manifest physically.
Yeah,
Mhm.
physically, and then with his back turned, Adolin nicked him in the gem heart, almost got him, and so his surges weren't working surge singular wasn't working correctly, but he didn't want to go out because he's like, no, this is the end. I ain't respawning. Like,
yeah.
I'm telling you, Shallan is turning into a Green Lantern.
I mean, it basically is like they're hard light structures.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, this isn't the first time she's done it because she did it at the Battle of Thalen Field as well.
Right.
But she wasn't really sure what she was doing at that.
It was
But
adrenaline.
She's figuring it out a little bit more and more. It seems like it's not
Yeah.
like it's more controlled.
But the thing I forgot about it was that he refused to believe that Adolin wasn't a Radiant
Oh yeah.
because he's like, nah, there's no way. I can't be taken on by some punk. And Adolin's like, I'm Batman. And so,
Bring it. Yeah.
but I forgot like how much he hated Adolin.
So, are you saying that Batman and the Green Lantern are married?
Yes.
Huh.
Look, there's a lot of Green Lanterns out there.
Fair enough.
There are a lot of lights in the spectrum. But the other thing that I forgot about was the fact that it was Abadai who like they made the push into the infirmary, and he's like, all right, let's kill all the infirm. That's going to break their will. And then that's when all of a sudden the boss music plays. And
and Ash is like, you chose
Ash
the
is like,
wrong
oh,
place.
you dumb idiot. You just threatened the innocent. And like the one place you're not supposed to threaten the innocent.
And Tallness in here, it's not going to go well. Nope.
And then, like, when they finally see, it's literally Tall and Shalash just on a pile of bodies, like it's a cutscene from Doom or something.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't even have a sword, I don't think, for most if all it was all his just bare hands.
And
yeah,
that's the thing, because he's like, I want the challenge. But then I remember Adolin being like, I seem to recall you could have fought Talm, but
where were you?
Yeah, you didn't see. He's just like, shut up. That one doesn't count.
Oh man.
But it was just one of those things. I forgot what an absolute insane tool this guy was.
Oh yeah.
He's so irritating.
It's like some of the fused, you're like, okay, they're just crazy. Some of the fused, you're like, okay, you're actually not that bad. And then this guy, you're just like, no. I think your friends want you to go down.
They want you to go away. Just shoot.
I mean, he's just so mean.
Mm-hmm. It almost seems like, I'm trying to think if there was a fuse that each of the main characters had to deal with, and like who was personally angry at them, because Kaladin had the pursuer.
Yeah.
Well, Adolin and Shallan both kind of dealt with Abadi, whatever his name is.
Shallan didn't really get one that was like hers, because the Ghost Bloods was her problem.
Yeah. But it seems like there's, for a lot of the
Adolin got one, and then Navani got one.
Navani definitely got one.
Ravoniel, yeah.
And then even Venli kind of had Leshwi, but not entirely.
Well, and I mean, Kaladin kind of had Leshwi too as a pseudo, but Pursuer was like super focused.
My
on
ship
Kaladin.
got sunk. I wanted Kaladin Leshwi.
You want Kaleshwadin?
Kaleshwadin, or whatever that. I don't know. There's two different ways to say that.
That's my that's my ship word for it.
I was just like, nah, I'm good.
But no, like he was just the worst. Okay, I will say there was one thing on this entire the Adolin storyline that drove me nuts. Very similar to what drove me nuts in Elantris, where I'm like, I figured it out far before they did. Where it was there's like, okay, but what does victory look like in this scenario? And it's the throne. It's the freaking throne. Whoever is sitting on the throne. This is so obvious.
They said it. Like Brandon had them say it several times, and it's just like, I wonder why they keep saying whoever sits on the throne. Yeah.
See, I was rush reading so much that I didn't. I just missed it still.
No, I was just like, okay, the enemy's gate is down. Sure. Yeah, we're going to go for...
Yeah, it's all about the throne room, which is fine. Like that part isn't weird at all.
No. It makes sense, especially in Azir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
all about the technicalities.
I did like it was more like, that's coming back when he's eating with Yanagon and it's like aluminum silverware.
Oh, yeah.
But like, I actually think it makes a lot of sense. Like, if you're a king,
you use the precious metal.
Well, and on top of it, if you're worried about like poisoning and there's people who can bend light and stuff, aluminum silverware could potentially like disrupt, like if you were using a light weaving as a poison, to hide a poison or something. That wasn't why they did it, because they were using it because it was a precious metal. But I'm like, that actually, like, once you learn about it, you'd be like, this might not be a bad idea, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, and then they have the whole throne room or whatever.
Yeah, that I did like, just because it's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But then when he tries to summon Maya, it's like, haha, you're trapped in here with me. Then
candelabra,
and you're I've caught you off the wrong foot. And he's like, too soon, man, too soon.
Well, no, speaking of the foot thing, it was another layer of like Adolin being prepared through like repetition, like because how Zahir or Zahel Zahir
Zyle.
Zyle. Oh my goodness, I can't say his name. Like had them train on uneven footing and doing all these different things, and like it came back to save Adolin in this sense that he's like, well, this is still a weird thing to be using armor to kind of be a prosthetic foot, but I know how to adjust for it. Whereas somebody else who was like a good swordsman but hadn't done all of these crazy things to try and train in different ways would have been screwed because it's a learning curve.
Bill, what was the name of the guy who's the subject of like finding the next? I forget the chess guy.
Oh, searching for Bobby Fischer.
Searching for Bobby Fischer. That's what it is. I just this the guy who's the subject.
Josh Wait,
something like that. But I just remember one of the things he talked about in his training in chess, like his chess masters.
Yeah, Josh Wait.
Instead of training him like, okay, memorize this opening, they instead would just like put pieces randomly on the board and be like, all right, we're playing it here. And they just trained him to fight in oddball circumstances. Because it's like by the end of the game, you're going to have some weird combination that doesn't make sense. And so they instead trained him for the end of the game where things are weird. And so his entire style of chess was to shove the game into these weird positions because he's trained for it, whereas his opponents were not. And Adolin's training is kind of like that, where it's like, no, the battlefield is chaos. I'm going to treat you to deal with chaos, not teach you how to deal with it when everything's awesome.
And super strict line is that you need to be able to adjust. Like I remember from what I remember of the American Civil War, or not Civil War, but the Revolutionary War, like the British troops were going in lines and, you know, like this is how you do warfare. And a bunch of the Americans were doing like guerrilla warfare and shooting from trees and whatever else.
Most of the Americans were veterans of the French Indian War, which these were the tactics that the natives used because the natives didn't have all the fancy gear. So they're just like, well, that worked for them. Let's use that.
Let's do that. It worked well. Yeah.
And so, but it also makes a lot of sense because it's like, you think like, what's one of the best scenes? It's the duel. It's Kaladin and Adolin back to back. And it's like, what do these two have in common that all these four pretty boy duelists do not? It's like these pretty boy duelists are used to duels. Adolin and Kaladin are used to combat.
Yes.
They're used to fighting on uneven footing and having to improvise.
And it is you do or you die, and it's very different. I mean, I think some of the other combatants against them did fight some, but Adolin, I think, did a lot more.
Yeah. Well, they certainly didn't fight at the tower surrounded by...
oh no. Nope.
Like
yeah, absolutely.
And so it's just one of those things that... So, I mean, heck, Adolin at one point actually uses it a little bit to his advantage when Abadai has his armor. And Abadai goes to like push his advantage, and Adolin's like foot gets... Well, not foot, his peg gets caught in like some groove, and it like causes him to spin around this awkward thing, and it lets him avoid like a killing blow. And Abadai's like, you know, swiping at air. And it's just, it's something that, again, if you weren't trained to deal with chaos and improvising, you'd be thrown off as well.
The other thing that's interesting is now that Adolin's armor is awakened, it's you know, like it knows how to adjust for him, and like it'll be a very interesting way for him to exist.
Yeah, and I mean, there's only him and like his little crew that have awakened armor, right?
Yeah, the Unoathed.
Well, and then the and then Knights Radiant. Like Shallan's armor is awakened.
Well, so but that's the thing. They need Stormlight. The Unoathed.
Not for the armor.
I mean, it's how it regrows.
For repairs. Yeah, for repairs.
Well, that's how to repair it, but there's it's living sprint. It's not a matter of like we haven't really seen how living armor responds in combat to that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean,
that's my question.
And there's not as many of them that have their living armor.
Right, absolutely.
Who've made it to that oath.
But what I'm
So-
saying is there are also Knights Radiant who have
Yes.
their living armor in
Mhm.
addition to the Unoathed.
But there's a lot
Does-
less armor that's
Far fewer.
yeah.
Does
Go ahead.
Adolin paint his armor?
Yes.
It's Colin Blue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I was
they
just
make
trying-
a big deal of the fact that Dalinar doesn't paint his armor
Yes,
and leaves it gray.
Dalinar's is gray, and then Sadius's was red.
Yeah. Well, so that's I was trying to think.
Wasn't it? Wasn't it red, or did I just picture it red?
Shoot, I don't know.
Because Sadius colors I think are green, but
Yeah, it's green and
I
yellow.
always picture him wearing red armor. I think that was mentioned, but maybe I can't even remember if I'm remembering that right or not.
You know what?
Did I make
I'm
that
just
up?
gonna look it up.
I do not know. I just don't remember if Adolin, because part of it was because when we get the whole thing of he's fighting against someone in his own armor, and the armor like responds to him, "Sir," with a question mark.
Right.
Mhm.
And there's part of me that's wondering because if he didn't paint it, that would mean it was Honorspren armor. Well, not Honorspren, but Windsprend armor,
Mhm.
and it would
It
make
was-
sense.
It was painted red, by the way.
Yeah,
Okay.
like the art people have art of it being red. So yeah.
Yeah, but the and if it was Windsprend armor, that would mean that because the Honorspren are much more rigid and militaristic, and so it would make a lot of sense that they've responded very well to Adolin,
Mm.
who's
Well-
grown up in a life of war.
Well, the armor are windspread.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because they're more closely related to the Honorspren. And so they'd be used to the more militaristic. It was one of those things where I was like, I wonder if that's related type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, sort of like Maya's got the soldier energy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was just one of those things I was wondering. And it was the moment, because when he went in there and it's like, okay, you can't summon Maya. You have no shard plate. You were literally fighting on one leg. And there's part of me like, if Brandon lets him pull this out, I'm actually kind of going to be a little bit mad. Like, he
Mhm.
should not be able to live through this. And then when he has the sir,
Unaided. Yeah.
yeah, and then suddenly the thing is, I just remember early on, part of the thing with Dalinar was Dalinar always felt Adolin, he's too familiar with his troops. And Adolin would tell him, it's like, this is how I have to lead. Like, I can't do it like you.
Mhm.
And it was sort of the thing of Dalinar learned to respect the fact his son has to do things differently than him, that they're not the same person. And it literally, it's why Maya ends up, being able to respond to him. It's why the armor ends up being able to respond to him.
Mhm.
And the fact that the armor sort of responded to his command. It's like, go, and they didn't really, it's like, okay, so we go to other people now. And they don't really understand that it's like, okay, but not the enemy, because they have no concept of what the enemy is.
Yeah.
And so as soon as it is, and then the way shard plate works, it makes perfect sense that suddenly it would just make a prosthetic for him. So he's
Mhm.
no longer fighting on, a missing leg. He has a replacement leg and it responds the way his leg would.
Right.
Because if there's especially him, because his armor knows how he moves.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, okay, this makes sense. And it also brings back the concept that something that Dalinar was thinking in his flashback chapters, where it's like, because he didn't have plate or blade, and Dalinar had always considered like, no, you want the plate way more than you want the blade. The blade isn't as good as the plate. And so when Adolin gets his plate back and then just like punches through the wall and then is able to summon Maya.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Oh, man.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a crazy fight. It was stressful to read. It was enjoyable afterwards, but it was stressful to read because there were too many moments that were
I
very
feel
close
like
calls.
I feel like this was Robin Hobb's influence on Brandon, because Robin Hobb, in my opinion, is the author who is the absolute meanest to her characters. And yes, I've read George R.R. Martin. George R.R. Martin just kills his characters. She breaks them.
She tortures them over
And
over and
I feel like this was Brandon, like
Theon Greyjoy has
her
something to say, but
influence
anyway.
on him. What's that?
I said I feel like Theon Greyjoy has something to say, but continue.
I'm just saying, like, she is cruel to her protagonists.
hmm
And this is the thing, because we're all like, okay, this is the end of Era 1, and it's like this is still supposed to be the Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And so it was going to get darker before it got better.
Oh yeah, and I knew that going into it, but it's still rough to.
Well, the Empire Strikes Back or Revenge of the Sith,
Yeah.
because that doesn't end happy.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith is probably the better comparison.
There's no line though, which is good.
That's a good thing. We don't talk about
I
that.
said there's.
I think there is. I think it's I'm his therapist, but anyway.
Fair enough.
Oh man.
But no, the thing that was interesting just about the whole thing with him and Abadai was the fact that, again, Abadai is like, he is so prideful. Is you know, why are you hiding your powers from me, Radiant? And I'm not a Radiant.
I'm not.
And he is so mad. And I love the way, because Abadai, he calls himself the Monarch, like, and he is a true tyrant. Like, that is his attitude.
It's one of those, you chose that name for yourself, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's the taser
Doctor
face.
Who, where it's like, Master, I love it when you use my name. You're the one who chose it. Psychologist field day.
Well, it's like it's Taserface from Guardians of the
Oh
Galaxy.
yeah. Taserface.
Taser shoot out of your face. But no, the thing that the way he ends up killing him, he literally crunches him underfoot. He doesn't kill him with the sword. He literally steps on him, which Abadai, that's the type of person he is. And the thing is, he's effused. He might come back.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Even more broken.
Yeah.
Well, especially with the Forever Storm going on right now.
Yeah.
Oh, sheesh, yeah.
It was just something that it was just like, that storyline doesn't have to be done if Brandon if he has more for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, we got a 10 to 15 year jump coming up. So if he's coming back, he probably will have come back. A time or two. So
yeah, though I know they have the treaty that doesn't let them go into Asia.
Yeah. I have a feeling Abadai might be the type to try and find ways around it.
Oh,
well, I also have a feeling that Adolin may very likely venture out of it, Azamir.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's definitely going to want to get to Urithiru at some point.
Exactly.
It's where his brother is. And if he's ever
where he thinks his wife is.
I think he's going to find that out pretty quick. Again,
he'll probably figure it out pretty quick, but.
Well, I mean, she's planning to send the messages to him through the Seance.
Yeah.
So,
and it's the most likely place that she will be able to get back, because in order to transfer over, the most likely person to be able to do that is going to be Yesna, and she's going to have to be in the tower to do anything with her powers.
Yeah. That's true.
Your Theory for the point of radiance is the high ground. Literally.
Yeah.
It's the last bastion.
Yeah. It's the only place where they can use their abilities. It's going to make it a beast if anyone ever wants to take it.
Yeah.
But, it should, that part should be interesting. But I don't know. Abadai was the type of villain. It's like, I hate you so much. It was a lot like the Pursuer, where it's like, you cannot believe your own hype this much.
Yeah.
No, she's crazy and needs to go down.
Yeah. Oh, Iroh.
No, he believed all his own hype. But the other thing that was interesting about Adolin's whole arc in this book is the back and forth. Like, one of them that I like, the back and forth he has with what's her name? The like the prime scribe.
Oh, right. What's her
Oh,
Lift's
goodness,
friend?
Gosh dang it. Why
I'm
can't
blanking.
I remember these things when I need to?
The name is gone. I don't know.
Yanagon. I can remember Yanagon just fine. Click that.
It's not Nora, is it?
I think it might be.
Noura. Noura.
Yeah. It's high-ranking
Yes.
vizier, and in his court.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, perfect. How it's very interesting because Adolin keeps like talk. It's like, he has a right to be able to defend his own kingdom. And she's like, you're not a Lethe, and it's this back and forth. And what I love, because we don't get many scenes with her. We see like she has genuine like fondness for Lift and stuff.
Yes.
And even though Lift thinks that she hates her.
Well, and Lift, because Lift enjoys tormenting her.
Yeah. But when finally you find out it's an adoptive mother's love for her son, being like, I don't want you putting him in the battlefield. Like, it's like she legitimately loves Yanagon and just doesn't want him to be in danger.
Well, I mean, and then it's also like she knows he's the prime, and so she doesn't want to have it's the personal feelings as well as probably the protective of your ruler, and seeing that he's a good kid and that he wants good things, and you don't want to have they've gone through leader after leader after leader after leader all these different times previous to him, and he's been steady and long-standing, and he's just a good guy, and so you'd want to have doubly extra protection on him and not have him just get killed on the battlefield.
Everything she says about him being a symbol is 100% true, and it matters, especially for their form of government, because they're more of a pure bureaucracy. Where the leader is supposed to be only a figurehead. But it's one of those things, like when she kind of breaks down a little bit, you find out it's like all the stuff she's talking about the state is secondary for her. Like it's one of those things. It's like, especially with Lift always referring to, the scribes as like they have hearts made out of paper and stuff like that. And they love their ink more than they love their kingdom. And, and it's just, you find out, no, it's not true. Which makes it, I love the concept of she ends up getting a set of armor, because the concept of like the bookish scribe getting some armor is kind of hilarious. It's like, and it's like, and we will be defended by Steve from accounting.
Yep.
You don't know Steve. He may like, do taekwondo at night, and
you don't know.
I bet she does not. She just does not strike me as the type, but there's something to be said for just being in powered armor and having a sword that cuts through everything, and having a lightsaber essentially.
Well, and like the best kind of powered armor, like there are a lot of people with powered armor. This is even better than powered armor.
Yeah.
Guess it
Well,
works.
and then and that's the other thing is I love the moment where Adolin, like when it's like, unoathed to arms, or what he said, and they all
Avengers Assemble. Yeah.
Yeah. They all get their armor at the same time. I loved Adolin's thought of, it's like, this is what he and his dad wanted back on, like at the very beginning. They wanted a show of force where they got all the shard bearers together in a fighting force. It'd be something that the world had never seen before in military.
Right.
It's scary. It's because like one shard bearer is scary by themselves, and then you get the whole force of them working together.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a wall of 10. He's like, yeah, okay, these people aren't like, it's like, okay, who would actually in that group have any, skill with this? It's like, okay, Kalat, Yanagon got some training.
He got some good training.
I think May actually, I think they said May had been training with her family's plate.
Yeah, her downside was just that she was smaller, and and so now she's got the force of shard plate behind her, and so
that's the great thing about powered armor. It's the great equalizer.
Yeah.
Hamask had been
Had
fighting
trained.
with. Yeah. I have to find who all was in that. I'm trying to remember now. There were 10 of them,
Yes.
right?
We've got Adolin, Kolat, Gezamal Kushkum.
Was that the
Kushkum,
general
he was like,
of
I
Azir?
think he was the general. Yeah, he was like one of the major leaders, if not the general.
was a
Mask,
guard.
May Aladar, Notum.
That's right, Notum, a Spren got
Yep,
The
armor.
Spren
I
got
forgot
armor.
about
Yep.
that.
Sarquin.
Clearly,
Yeah. What?
it's clearly one of the Azimir.
Yeah, Yanagon, Zabra, and Zarb Kushkum, his son.
Yeah. So half of them actually had some training, so that actually wouldn't have been that bad.
It wouldn't have been as bad, yeah.
But it was just like, yeah, you like, especially when the fuse they had, they didn't have a bunch of the, the high power. It was mostly the regals and such.
Mm-hmm. So they're still scary, but they're not half so scary as the other ones.
I am very intrigued by how Notum's gonna play out, just because it's a Spren wearing Spren.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. I'd
Yo,
forgotten
dog.
about that.
And it's also one of those things like people are gonna see this and just be like, I didn't know you could do that.
That's different.
What else can I do? Well, and the way Brandon writes, as soon as one person does it, people start experimenting and trying to figure stuff out. So in the next 10 to 15 years, who knows what's going on?
Well, so that's something that's very interesting because the Unoathed actually are going to be one of the most powerful forces on Roshar at this time because they don't need Stormlight except to repair the armor.
Right.
And so...
Well, and if they can get to Urithiru, I mean, Urithiru is encased in, a barrier, but...
Well, but there's also... They should be able to heal with...
Warlight.
With Warlight, because it has part honor.
Right.
And
it's just getting hold of the Warlight.
You have to make some sort of offering for it.
Is that how?
Well, yeah.
I'd forgot.
To Odium.
Yeah, there's something to do with that, and so
yeah,
I'll be interested to see what the politics of that are.
And I guess considering Unoathed, they're like, well, then we can do this. Who knows?
Yeah,
it'll be very interesting to see.
But the thing that's interesting about it is they're forming bonds without oaths.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is because I think this is because this isn't the what bond? Naha bond.
The nail bond, yeah. And it's not a Lua bond.
It's like, so this is something else where it might be a Luha bond for all we know, because we don't really know what that means.
The Lua bond is has to do with ethers, doesn't it?
Yeah, but we don't know if that's a greater principle or not, because we don't really know what it means. It seems to have some sort of sympathetic thing going on where you offer it like your emotions to help you do certain things.
Yeah, but again, I think ether is a key component of it.
Yeah. It's one of those, I'd like to know more.
Yeah.
What these things mean.
I'd almost say this is a new kind of bond entirely. Although, I mean, they've said that I think this is closer to like a Sion bond.
Could be.
Which is close to a nail bond, but not quite. They've said.
Yeah. And this was after Ba-Adamishrim was out, right?
Yeah.
Or before?
Mm-hmm.
After, okay. Okay. Let's just remember.
But the thing it's interesting to me is because this, they've had the ability to use surges without O's before. It just led to the destruction of a planet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just very interested to see where they go from here. Because it's not about oaths, it's about like agreements between human and Spren.
Yeah.
Like there isn't honor there acting as an intermediary.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, how far can this go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, let's say hypothetically, I'm like my original assumption about them being Windspren are correct. Mm-hmm. With enough practice, could Adolin start doing the things that Kaladin was doing with his armor?
Like sending it off?
Yeah. Yeah, sending it. He kind of did. A little bit. And so it's just like, could they start like replicating not the full surges, but some of the things the Radiants were doing?
Don't know.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. It's like, it just
could he at some point, not like, I don't know if this would even ever be a possibility, but could in the armor, he potentially fly their wind sprint?
Yeah. And so
Don't know.
it's just one of those things. I have
it wouldn't be flying the way that a Windrunner flies. It'd be flying like in a powered suit that has the ability to fly
it'd actually
itself.
be more like how Thor flies, where he throws the hammer and like hangs on to it.
It'd be like an Iron Man flight.
Yeah.
I just imagine it's like, all right, armor, go. I'm throwing you forward, but you're keeping me inside you.
We're going to go together. Yep.
Sir.
It'll be interesting.
I don't know. It's just one of those things that, like, the whole concept of the unoathed was such an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
We get the Power Rangers moment.
Yeah. I do like this. So stepping away from the end of the book, but I do like the scenes where he is teaching Yanagon towers.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some really cool, just because it's got very, very older brother energy, which Yanagon is one of the loneliest people in the world. Oh, he has all these people fawning him, but he is more alone than just about anyone else.
People get to watch him sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that's not weird.
He's not only lonely, he has no privacy. Well, he's the worst of both worlds.
He's basically like, they have given him this form to cram himself into, and he's accepted it and climbed into that form of this emperor. He sees himself as just a physical representation of whatever the emperor really is. And Adolin sees Yanagon. He sees Gox.
Yeah.
You know, that was one of the reasons that Lift was great. Lift didn't treat him any different than she would have treated anyone else.
Yeah, she treats everybody like that. She's like, no, that's how I get treated everybody.
It's like, oh, that's Gox. And it's like, it's not that's Gox. He's a little weird or a little shy or a little quiet. No, that's just Gox.
That's just what he is, yeah.
No,
and I do really remember the conversation where I think it's Nora or whatever her name is.
Nora.
Yeah, who is getting after Adolin for like being too personal with him, and he's like, no, he needs a friend.
Yeah.
He needs someone who's not an underling and isn't an advisor and isn't all these other things. He just needs a person who treats him like a person.
If you keep trying to do this, you're going to break this boy.
Yeah. It's rough.
The other thing I liked about Yanagon in this is the fact that he's kind of stepping, like, he actually wants to be a leader. Like, it's one of those things that he's got all these lessons, and it's like, no, I want to actually lead.
Yeah.
Well, he's been, like I said, he's been cramming himself into this image, and he's just like, I don't just want to pretend to be this. Could I possibly be this?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing,
because if I'm actively trying to do it, then I can do it better than I have been.
Well, and the other thing that made that whole dichotomy interesting was the fact that no one's supposed to address him either, except the scribes. And so, as Adolin brings Gezamal and Zarb, I'm looking at the names trying to remember it, into play towers with them, is interesting because they would talk to Adolin and then like avert their eyes, so that, and then, you know, Yanagon would talk to Adolin as well. And I just remember there was one point where Yanagon said something, and then like they sort of responded a little familiar, like, oh geez, oh no, I gotta go. Like, and you can tell Yanagon's just like, gosh dang it. Like, just
it was getting normal, and then it's going.
Then it got weird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really liked it.
Because I mean, how is Gox like 19, something like that?
Oh, he's younger than that, I think.
I thought he was.
Because I feel like he was like 12-ish or something like that when he met Lift.
Right, and only like 3 years have passed since.
Has it really only been 3 years?
I think so.
What? Oh my goodness.
I also remember the other thing I really liked. I remember at the start when Adolin shows up to Aesir, they have the argument with with is Gezimal the father? No, Zarb is the father.
Is Zarb the father? I thought Zarb was the son.
Hold on, let's just look.
Gezimal is Zarb's son. Okay.
Okay,
yeah,
then
Gezimal is Zarb's son.
I had it backwards.
Yeah. But Zarb at first is like, because Adolin got the cheating magic from Dalinar so that he could speak Aesir. And at first he's like dismissing Adolin's advice, and then Adolin's like, well, actually this and this. And then Adolin realizes he like oversteps himself, like in a way that sort of like, inadvertently made him look like a fool. And then when he tries to do something that like he ends up trying to do some plan, I can't remember what it was, and it backfired. Oh, it was the thing where they ended up losing the bronze soulcaster.
Oh, right.
And he like goes to Adolin, it's like, you were right. And like he like admits that he was wrong. And Adolin doesn't humiliate him or anything. He's just like, look, it happens. And I remember he has the thing, he's like, they said you'd win me over. They said, like, I just remember him.
You told me you would win.
And it's like, he's like, I'm Adolin. I'm everyone's friend.
That's what I do.
By the way, Gox was 15 when the Everstorm appeared.
Okay. So he was a little bit younger than I thought.
So at the end of Words of Radiance, he was 15.
Okay.
No, the thing that that's just the thing that Adolin, he has to be personable with people. He can't lead. He can't be like his father. His father leads from the front, like, which is a very honorable thing. Like, he is someone who gets out there and pushes forward and inspires everyone to follow. Adolin leads from the side, like he's alongside you, and he's fighting with you. And it's just like, he makes you like, no, I've got your back. I'm right here.
Yeah.
Whereas most of the other Alethi leadership, they fought from the back, and not in the, oh, I am the like not in the yes, no way, where it's like, no, she's got the strategy. She's trying to stay back and above where she can see everything, plan it all out. They're just in the back because it's like, yeah, no, you go there. You're the peasants.
You go do the thing. I'm not gonna.
It's like, okay, I guess we need shard bearers for this. Okay, I'll go in here. Yeah. But like, they only go in when they have to.
Well, I mean, they're playing with a very valuable resource.
Yeah. But it's the issue. It's just like in video games. It's like, well, what is it from Fire Emblem Vulnerary? I can never say it right.
Vulnerary.
Yeah. Where you get to the end of the game and you have a giant bag full of like 128 of them.
Too awesome to use. Elixirs in Final Fantasy.
Oh, sheesh.
It's like, I don't want to use it. I need it. Sure, the situation looks bad now, but it could be worse later.
What if there's another phase to the boss that I wasn't prepared for?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how they treat everything. They don't ever use the thing.
They keep it too pristine.
But no, that's just Adolin's entire style. He tries to win people over so that they'll trust him and they'll work with him. It's in some regards, it's very like Kelsier. Like, what Kelsier won't, he only will go with people who trust him and that he trusts.
Mhm.
The difference is that I don't see Adolin being quite as manipulative
Mm.
as Kelsier is. I
No,
think
he's more open.
yeah, it feels like with Adolin, yes, he wants them to work with him, but he's not sitting here going, well, let's befriend this person so they'll do that. He's going, no, I'm just gonna not befriend everybody, but it feels much more like that he just wants to understand everybody and befriend them.
To count. Go ahead.
Honestly, it's kind of like Kaladin, just a different angle of it. You know, Kaladin forges Bridge 4, and it's like Adolin probably would have forged Bridge 4, but in a very different way.
Yeah.
But they would have had a very similar end result.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just the fact Adolin is a born leader, literally, in this society.
Mhm.
And Kelsey is sort of like that as well, where it's like he's born to, like, he just kind of is that type of person.
They just have
And
that charisma and that everything
yeah,
else.
and it's one of those things. I'll like to both counter and then support what you say. It's like in Kelsey's defense, Adolin's never been dragged through, the pits and felt like everyone betrayed him and all this other stuff. Counter to that, Adolin is an example of one of my favorite tropes on TV tropes called spoiled sweet, where it's the person who's been given everything, but instead of it making them like someone who's, they're spoiled, and, it's someone who they let them have a sweeter view of the world, and like, no, I'm going to let this be something that makes me better and not something that
Mhm.
makes me worse.
Yeah, the example that comes to mind is from the animated Princess and the Frog, and it's her friend
Charlotte?
Shoot, I
Charlotte
think it might.
Dupree?
Yeah, I feel like
Is
it's
it,
her.
is
It's
it
the blonde.
Dupree?
I can't remember her last name, but it's her, and like just she could be a spoiled rotten brat, but she is so nice.
Yes.
I mean, she's obviously spoiled, but she
LaBeouf.
is just le beau.
And
That's right.
he is
LaBeouf.
like, he's a
They're both,
fop.
yeah.
He's always looking for clothes,
Mhm.
and like his hair has to be just this way.
He wants to
The
match his outfits, just all those other
the
things.
way
But
the way I've described it, because there are a few people I know like it. It's the kind of person where they're good at this and they're good at this and they're good at this. It's the kind of person that you would be so tempted to just hate, except that gosh dang it, they're so freaking nice.
they're nice. Yeah, and it's like, oh,
And so you're just like, no, I can't hate this person. They're just, that would be a failing in me.
Well,
mhm.
and it's what makes like the duel, especially, I forget the name of the guy we see earlier where they're fighting together, and he's like, oh, with the rumors, let's meet later, because he doesn't want to meet when it could potentially be a problem.
Mhm.
And for Adolin, it's kind of slap in the face. He's like, this has been, bad. Like, this, like, why I'm being good to you, and you're still kind of like, you're still treating this like a game. And Adolin's whole strategy is to kind of bypass the game, whereas
Yeah.
Dalinar's whole strategy is to ignore that the game is being played entirely. And so for Adolin, it was this huge slap to the face. And it's also the big difference between Adolin and his father, because, Dalinar is honor incarnate, whereas Adolin's like, I'll stab a guy in a back alley if I think I need to.
Yeah.
I just had this interesting image. Dalinar is the Blackthorn, as we all know. What is the motif on Maya? Just regular vines, no thorns.
So you
Oh.
want him to be what, the blue vine or something?
Green thorn.
No, it's just Adolin isn't thorny.
That's true.
Yeah, he's not prickly or any of that.
But he it's an interesting. Yeah.
I want Adolin to fight Blackthorn so bad.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, I could see that happening.
Yeah, but then we're gonna have the whole Leonardo versus Raphael "I'm better than you" moment.
Well, this is the thing that's going to be interesting, because the Blackthorn is the rage incarnate. It's Dalinar when he's possessed by the thrill,
Right.
and now with older Dalinar's knowledge on top of it, which who knows what that's going to give it. But this is also going to be Adolin, who he has shenanigans he can pull with his shard blade and shard plate. And the other thing, Gavinor was trained specifically to fight Dalinar. Like Gavinor talks about, he was given all these recreations of Dalinar to fight.
So
I would love the concept of Gavinor training Adolin to fight
the
Blackthorn.
Mm-hmm.
That would work.
That would be really oof. That would be really kind of weird for Adolin, though, considering going, it's my nephew who's
the same age.
No,
it's
not nephew, it's cousin. No, it is nephew.
Cousin,
it is nephew.
It's cousin once removed.
Yeah.
Well, because it's
cousin once removed.
Okay.
Because Elokar was his cousin. And
but
it's his cousin's
it's effectively
child.
Nephew. Like Gavinor.
Yeah.
Gavinor treated Dalinar and Navani like parents.
The same way that the same way that it was Dalinar's grandchild.
Yeah.
Look,
I mean,
the entire
he did marry his actual grandmother. But,
the Colin family tree is very confusing.
It's a little twisty.
Just because
it's a Mobius strip.
Yeah, because Navani married her former brother-in-law. So it's like, did anything actually squicky happen? No, it just got really complicated on the family chart.
You look on the paper and you're like, that's weird. So the friend in the duel is Yakimov.
Yakimov, right?
Yakimov, that's it.
Yeah, had to look it up. Anyway, but yeah.
No, he's one I'd like to see come back actually.
Yakimov?
Like if he's still around at the second half, he'd be interesting to see if he's like he could be an interesting atoner, or he could be a
contrast to see how he's.
What was Ellen's friend who came back with the
Jastes?
Jastes,
yeah.
Oh, Jastes.
Yeah. Like if he's either trying to redeem himself or if he's a Jastes. Either way, he could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, so he's in Royan's army.
Royan.
Yeah. I cannot say these names today. My goodness. Yeah, so they came to Uruthru, so they're there.
Yeah, it's just one of those, like, it's always interesting after a time skip to see what characters do and don't come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Zabra is going to be an interesting character post time skip.
She's going to be fun.
Where she's going to get, 10 years of training with shard plate.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to be a fighter, and she's feisty.
And
I have a feeling she'd hate lift.
I could see them getting just like something's just off and they just can't quite.
The other thing that's interesting is like, can their ranks grow?
I mean, Ba'ato Mishram is
exactly.
Back, so there's a lot of dead eyes around.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see if the ranks of the Unoath grow because it would be years.
Yeah, it'd be crazy. I wonder if like most of them would be in Aesir just because like that's where they've kind of started, and if it just keeps growing from there, and that would be a big boon for helping to keep the country safe.
That would be an interesting way to bring Yakimov back because remember he lost his plate in the duel.
Yeah,
and so he's like I would love to get some plate again.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, because this is going to be the Dead Eyes, which that's the other thing that's going to be interesting is the Spren culture is suddenly going to be very different because suddenly all these ancients that they lost, like they're back.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got very different opinions than their kids.
They have different opinions, different memories. Like they know what happened.
Yeah. Because I mean, Maya's testimony was such a big difference. Yeah, go ahead.
Spren society just got upended.
Oh yeah,
I did not consider that.
Well, it's like imagine that you had hospitals full of comatose patients, and then one day they just all woke up.
Yeah, so there's actually
and they'd been out for like decades, but were the same, like their bodies hadn't aged, and then one day they just woke up.
Yeah. And they told you, no, you got history all wrong. You got everything wrong with X, Y, and Z that you were so sure of. In Sandman, there's something that happens with people when death or sleep, dream is captured. And so like there's a whole bunch of people that just stay asleep for a long time. But they don't go into that as much. But yeah. Just came to mind. But it's going to be interesting to see who else comes out of the, and starts acting more now that there's going to be this 10-year gap. And you're through in Aesir.
And this is the other thing. What happened with the Unoathed, there's nothing to prevent them from going to Odium side either.
The thing that would make me hesitate on that is the Spren, how aware they might be. I think most of the Spren would not be too keen on it, especially knowing that he almost wiped out all Spren.
Yeah.
And he was on the opposite side from them in the original fights before. So
he was also on their side.
Well, that's where I'm sort of just going, I don't know for sure, but I can see a lot of the Spren being like, side with who? No. No, he was planning to wipe us out.
But here's the thing. Remember,
but how many
they
of them
weren't
know?
originally enemies with the Fused either. Like we have that moment where Leshwi's like, I could see Leshwi, for example.
They weren't originally, but all of these, all of the Deadeyes were Radiant Spren.
Yeah.
And so they were fighting against the Fused. They may not have originally been
but they
enemies with the Fused, but they were a part of that war.
Yeah. And all I'm saying is I don't think it's going to be 100%.
I mean, they're individuals. They're going to make their own choices and what they do.
It's going to be the most interesting with the Ash Spren, though, where most of them were specifically siding with the diagram because there's like, no, all our ancestors, were killed by the Radiants. So yeah, we'll fight on this side. And like now they're going to be back. And I think a couple of their ancestors are going to be like, you sided with what?
You did what? No, get back here. Don't do that. Because that's going to be interesting with whatever happens with Dustbringers. And I mean, who knows how many are they going to be able to use if the Dustbringers are on Odium side, which they are, as far as we know, how many of them are going to be able to use Warlight or whatever the light is called?
Or if using that light has an effect.
Yeah, we don't know. Because they won't have access to normal Stormlight. So.
All I know is the other thing I was thinking about today when I was planning the episode, I think there's someone who Retribution would be very interested in. And it's Adolin.
Oh, no.
What he did to Sadius, how is that not just retribution pure and true?
No, that is retribution. It is.
Because you can't sit here and say, like, it's unjust. It's definitely... And you can't say it's not hatred, because Adolin was done with this man.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he was very done.
And he didn't get the last word with Dalinar, so I have a feeling Adolin's going to be right in Taravangian's just crosshairs, being like, yeah, I'm interested in talking to you.
I also wonder how much he's going to be dealing with dissent from some of the locals in all the different countries that he has overthrown now. Like, how much unrest is that going to cause?
At the very minimum, I could see like the locals being like, okay, yeah, sure, Dalinar had the right to agree to these terms because he was holding, the what was left essentially of honor. But so we lose our land because like how's that just?
Yeah.
And he's dealing with shards that aren't 100% together.
It's gonna be
messy. And that's the thing is basically what they did is they made the agreement that the borders would freeze as they were, at the end of the combat. Yeah. But you're still dealing with the conquered peoples.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning.
It's like,
is
yeah, sure, legally, this is all that happens. At the individual level, there's people who aren't going to be okay with that.
yeah,
And
I
he's
mean,
having to. I
Shinovar's
was gonna say,
conquered too, so
yeah.
that's going to be interesting because that's going to be there.
Well, and it's just the fact that, like, for example, he has the issue of, like, he has the moment where, like, he takes honor and he's like trying to make plans really quick, and he thinks about what he did with Gavinor for a moment, and he can feel like the honor shard being like, was that honorable? I don't know. And he's like, no, I was very careful with how I said things. Like, I didn't say he was going to get to kill Dalinar. I just said he would get a chance to fight. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess so. And it's like, is that actually honorable? Like, it's one of those things. Because one of the big things Race said was, it's like, no. I'm not going to be like Honor, who just wants to stick to the letter of the law. I'll stick to the spirit of it as well. And that's Taravangian is someone who likes to skirt around what he said a little bit. And I think it's going to be one of the things that he's going to slowly expose himself to damage from, because he's trying to get too cute. And I don't know. I think he's going to have problems with that.
I mean, Odium was trying to keep himself as a single, shard, and now he's two. So that's going to make things interesting. And I mean, he's less constrained than Harmony is, for sure. But
oh yeah,
he's also going to have other threats coming at him and all the other shards potentially. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, because again, he picked it up and suddenly every eye was on him.
Which, again, it was a Towers axiom that was the forebear, or not forebear. What's the word I'm looking for? The harbinger of that, the consequence of that. Which again, because like the more I read and looking back, I'm like, are we sure whoever wrote this didn't have future sight? Like, how?
Yeah.
How did they? How is this so perfect?
Yeah. All right. Well, we should probably start wrapping up. Anything y'all want to make sure we talk about before we move on?
Adolin's just a good guy. I like him.
I'm going to be very interested to see the results of not making peace with his father before he passed.
Oh man, yeah, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, and seeing how he decides
and still
to deal
having
with
to
that.
see, like, that's the thing. He didn't make peace with his father, and his father's shade, whatever, still exists. And so it's like, it's not just unfinished. It's unfinished and in your face.
Yeah, in the worst way.
And Taravangian's not the type of person who's going to ignore such an advantage.
Oh,
right.
No, he would fully do that.
He will fight very dirty.
And lie, which is interesting because he's Honor.
Well, and that's, I think he's going to be very shocked when he tries to like realize he can't do some of his old tricks.
Well, especially because the Shard of Honor probably has a little bit of ill feelings, just considering the way that Tanavast behaved while holding it.
Yeah.
And so it's just going to be like, no, we're not doing this again.
No.
I'm over here like, no, of course not. I was just stretching my legs.
Yeah.
That's a lie on top of a lie. All right.
I was anticipating your whims, sir.
I was just paraphrasing. All right. Well, to our listeners, we love hearing from you. Even though we are pulling back from the podcast, we will still be checking our email account, so please write in, and we are still going to be putting out the occasional episode. It may take us a little longer to respond now, though, so just be aware of that. You can still ask us about the Cosmere. You can drop us your latest theories. And while you're at it, we would still love to hear your feedback about what you think of the show and how we've done over the past 7 years. You can send all questions and suggestions and comments and feedback to cosmerestudies@gmail.com. Y'all are amazing. Seriously, we would absolutely love to hear from you. All right. Well, we do still have personal projects that we're each working on outside of the show. So, Amy, why don't you lead us off this last time for a while?
Okay, so my Facebook is Coincidence Cosplay and Props. My Twitter is @CoincidenceCosp because my name is too long. My Instagram is @coincidence_cosplay, and my TikTok is @coincidencecosplay, all one word. And my website
And also,
and I'll get to that. And
Okay.
then my website is www.coincidencecosplay.com. I'm still going to be doing and maintaining the Cosmere Studies Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, even though I hardly ever post on it. But the TikTok page is going to change to, I think, I have to check and make sure it's available, but Coincidence Cosmere. I will definitely post on the other ones and say, this is what the new name is for it. But yeah, it's going to be mostly me, but I'm sure if there's podcast stuff that I will put it on there as well. So
Cool.
yeah, I will be doing stuff there.
Cool.
And if you
Jordan?
have, you can, sorry, I didn't mean to cut in.
No worries. No
But
worries.
but if, I mean, I know Bill said, comments, questions, suggestions to the email, but if you wanted to shoot off a quick question that way, I will respond that way too.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Jordan.
All right, you can still find me at twitch.tv/splicestream. And if you are willing to help out with my new side project, the Trivial Video Gaming, I need more followers for that so I can stream there too. That is going to be more my video game quiz show and other shenanigan content. I am looking forward to doing that. And yeah, so if you could follow either of those, I'd appreciate it.
Cool. And then I have mostly pulled back from content creation, but I do take part in another podcast that Jordan has going on called I Think We Overleveled, where it's, him and a bunch of his college friends just reminiscing, talking about games, basically just having fun discussing gaming topics that we're interested in. So a couple weeks ago, we had our 50th episode. They featured Team Fortress 2. I actually wasn't there for that one, but it's a very, very integral game for Jordan for years. It was.
Yeah.
And so he had the crew that
and
he
a lot
played
of
with.
my co-hosts.
Yeah. It's never really been my thing, and so I sat that one out. But the one after that was I was a little bit more involved in, because it was a series that Jordan kind of has started up. This was the second entry in that series. It was 16 games you should play to understand me, Bill. So Jordan already did his.
I'm so glad we stumbled upon this format.
Oh, it was
because fun. It's a weird thing to trying to. First of all, yes, it's 16 because of the Cosmere, 100%. But the other thing is, it's hard to whittle a list down to 16 games.
Oh my gosh, it was painful. There were some crazy cuts, and y'all were really good at guessing 17 through 24. Like all the ones that I had to cut and that hurt to cut. Y'all were guessing all of those. It was a really fun episode. So if you want to check it out, go to youtube.com/splicestream, which is Jordan's YouTube channel. And then you'll want to look either at the playlists or in the live tab. And you can find it there.
Yeah. I'll post a link to it in the Discord if you're there.
Yeah. There's also a link in the show notes.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to, we do them. We're planning on about once a quarter to do that. It's just a lot of fun because, again, okay, maybe it's not my favorite game of all time, but this game lines up with who I am as a person better. And
who I am as a gamer.
Yeah. And you have to okay, well but this game kind of already covers that. Oh, but it hurts.
There were some of the hardest cuts I've had. I was just 16 isn't near enough. I think when I made my long list, it was 45, and then I cut it down to my short list and it was still 25. Oh, I was just I've still got to cut 9 more of these. And
super
those
easy.
Were hard.
Barely an inconvenience.
Oh gosh, no, not even close. Anyway, For those of you who want to support the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, we would still love it if you'd share the podcast with your friends. Tell them about the show. We've got a backlog of 186 episodes. We talk about basically everything that Brandon's written. I think we covered everything.
Except for Skyward stuff.
Did we not do Skyward? I guess
No,
we didn't do Skyward.
We didn't do Skyward, and
Alcatraz.
we didn't do Alcatraz.
We didn't do Alcatraz either. That's right.
And we
I
didn't do any
contemplated
of his
doing those.
collaborative.
Yeah, I was going to do Alcatraz or whatever when I finally finished reading them on the TikTok channel, and I still haven't. I stalled
Well,
out
hey.
on like book 5.
There's content for you.
I know, right
Yeah.
there. I could do it.
Yep. But yeah, and to like and subscribe over on youtube.com/Cosmere Studies. If you want to toss us a good review, we would still love that. We crave positive feedback. Wherever you listen to us, we'd love it if you'd leave a comment on the YouTube, any of the videos that you're watching. We'd love that too. All right. Final thoughts.
You all are awesome.
Yes.
I can't wait to get back at the very latest after Ember Dark comes out.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm assuming we're going to have something in between there for sure. Because I have an
Probably.
idea for something probably in October, maybe, but we'll see.
Well, Ember Dark is before October, isn't it?
Is it?
I thought it was August
summer.
or September.
Now looking up.
Crap, I can't remember now.
information.
I think Ember Dark's supposed to come out in August or September.
Really?
Isles of Ember Dark. Looking it up.
Oh, because it's the non-Cosmere short stories that are December. That's
Yes,
right.
that's December.
This was a Kickstarter. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, I totally spaced that.
Yeah, I don't even have to
Dates.
buy it because I already bought it. So
I know. I already did too. So yeah, anyway, I just know
Da-da-da.
for sure that there's something I have for October
Yeah.
that I want to do.
We'll definitely be around. So and like Jordan said, at the very latest, it'll be when Ember Dark comes out.
Ember
There's
Dark, yeah.
definitely something we can do.
This says those who supported the campaign will have their copies in fall of 2025.
Yeah. So like
Okay.
September.
Yeah.
Okay.
September,
so
October.
around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
That's
see.
the latest you'll hear from us.
Mhm.
Okay.
No, seriously, our listeners are incredible. Y'all are what has made this worth it.
Yeah.
You know, we started off, I remember after our first episode went out and I looked at listeners and it was like 5 or 6. And I was like, well, I know at least 2 of those were family members of mine. And I'm guessing Jordan and Amy each had family members listening too. So
No,
None of my family
members.
knows. None of my family members know the Cosmere.
But
My sister tried Mistborn and said it was too dark, so she hasn't read it. I guess my sister-in-law has read some.
Look,
but-
the ash comes out. It's fine.
but that falls from the sky. Okay. Well, remember, you can find our entire backlog of episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and just about any other service that carries podcasts by searching for Cosmere Studies. Our social media accounts will likely be posting much less moving forward, but you can still keep an eye on them for when we do post new episodes on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under the profile at Cosmere Studies, and our TikTok will be shifting away from the podcast and focus more on Amy's individual reactions under the new name at Coincidence Cosmere. It'll be a while, but if you want to be notified the next time we record an episode live, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button at www.youtube.com/Cosmere Studies. Until then, on behalf of Amy, Jordan, and myself, thanks so much for listening. And always remember, there's
There's
always
always
another
another
secret.
secret.